thank you for joining us once again for the State of the City presentation. And I'm pleased to be here at this annual event that we plan with our longtime partners at the Santa Barbara Chamber of Commerce. And I especially want to welcome Ken Oplinger, Executive Director, who quickly immersed himself in local business issues as soon as he took the helm at the Chamber. I'm honored to begin my second term as mayor, where I and my fellow council members work together on programs and services that make Santa Barbara a special place to live, work, and visit. And let me reintroduce you to our city council. Mayor Pro Tem Kathy Murillo, Councilmember Dale Francisco, Councilmember Randy Rouse, Councilmember Frank Hotchkiss, Councilmember Bendy White, and Councilmember Greg Hart. And our executive management team is also with us this morning. City Administrator Jim Armstrong, Assistant City Administrator Paul Casey, Police Chief Cam Sanchez, Parks and Recreation Director Nancy Rapp, Library Director Irene Macias, Finance Director Bob Samario, Waterfront Director Scott Reedman, Fire Chief Pat McElroy, who was promoted last year from Battalion Chief to lead the fire department. And as some of you know, we ended 2013 with several retirements across city departments, and we've been busy in various recruitment efforts finding the best candidates to meet Santa Barbara's unique needs. On an interim basis, we've appointed Hazel Johns as acting airport director, Betty Weiss as acting community development director, and Christy Schmidt as acting administrative services director. We've also appointed 2 new executives to our team. And I'm very pleased to introduce new City Attorney Ariel Kalan. He is responsible for providing legal advice to council and city departments and has just finished his first week on the job, so be nice. A Santa Barbara resident already, he previously served as the city attorney for the city of Ventura and several other California cities. He's highly regarded in the area of municipal law, and we're very excited to have him join our team. And finally, we've also recently appointed Rebecca Bjork as Public Works Director. Rebecca has worked for the city for 25 years, previously heading the Water Resources Division. And what good timing for us that she's now in this leadership position, since as we are very well aware, the city has now entered drought conditions. In February, the City Council, along with Governor Brown and other local governments up and down the state, declared a drought after experiencing the driest year on record. We requested the public's help to reduce water use by 20% and saw many people start to cut back on watering their yards and even organize rain dances to channel our collective energies for the community good. We were fortunate to have a significant rainstorm a month ago, and while this much-needed rainfall helped to some extent, it unfortunately was not enough to make up for the extremely low rainfalls these last 3 years. So it's imperative to remain vigilant with our water conservation efforts, carefully monitoring our future water supplies in case Mother Nature does not deliver. This drought and our conservation efforts actually remind me about the more figurative financial drought of the recent national recession, with people cutting back and spending less on our local businesses. At that time, we looked for ways to be more efficient, collaborate more with local organizations, and leverage our combined talents. And today, I believe our efforts have paid off as our city and community as a whole are stronger than ever because we created new alliances and strengthened existing partnerships between government, the business community, and nonprofit sectors. Yet even with a brighter future ahead, the city still manages its financial resources with caution. We need to continue investing wisely with our roads and facilities, providing services for youth and families, protect public safety, and enhance our economic vitality. In our strong position now, we have opportunities to make longer-term decisions that will positively shape our future. Protecting our environment is a large part of our community's well-being. And recently, the city received 3 Beacon Gold Spotlight Awards from the Institute for Local Government for achieving significant reductions in agency electricity use and emissions. The awards also recognize the successful implementation of best practices ranging from climate-friendly purchasing to maintaining parklands without the use of toxic pesticides. To spotlight just a few of our successes, we've reduced natural gas use at the Los Baños de Mar pool by 25% by replacing the boilers that heat the water. Various energy retrofit projects throughout the city has now reduced our electric bill by $420,000 per year. We're also producing energy to power our own facilities. With the brand new engine cogeneration facility at the wastewater treatment plant, we introduced a new process that converts what's known as FOG, or fats, oils, and grease, from restaurant operations to methane gas, which is then used to power the plant. In the area of trash and recycling, Santa Barbara joined 70 other California cities in adopting a single-use bag ordinance to encourage everyone to pick up their groceries in reusable bags. And starting in May, plastic bags are prohibited in large stores and paper bags will be available for 10 cents. And by November, the ordinance will expand to smaller drugstores, pharmacies, and convenience food stores. Many of our best practices affect our creeks and waterways. We replaced over 100,000 square feet of asphalt with permeable pavers at Mackenzie Park, Stevens Park, Oak Park, and the West Side Neighborhood Center. Why is this pavement worth noting? Because permeable paving captures and treats polluted stormwater and runoff as it soaks into the ground, preventing pollutants like oils and metals from flowing into storm drains, which lead directly into our creeks and ocean untreated. Over at the Cater Water Treatment Plant, we introduced ozonation equipment last year to disinfect our water supplies, improving the quality and taste of drinking water. And now we just need some rain to make sure we have the water supplies to treat. And I'd like to introduce our first video this morning to shed some light on the city's water supplies and what the drought means for Santa Barbara.
A Stage 1 drought condition was declared by the Santa Barbara City Council on February 11, 2014. The city is asking residents and businesses to reduce our normal water demand by 20% by conserving water wherever possible.
This is our first of 3 stages that the council could implement. This is a voluntary stage, but we are looking for the community to reduce their water usage by 20% to help extend the city's water supplies that we do have.
Santa Barbara is experiencing its 3rd consecutive dry year. 2013 marked the driest year on record at many locations across the state. If dry conditions persist, water conservation efforts and our diverse water supply will sustain us during the drought.
We receive surface water through Gibraltar and Cachuma. Gibraltar is expected to be empty this year. Cachuma is about 40% full. We also receive surface water through the State Water Project. This year, for the first time in the history of the project, the allocations are set to be 0%. Fortunately, the city has carryover water in San Luis Reservoir that we will be using to meet demands for this year.
A supply strategy has been developed, assuming continued lack of inflows to Gibraltar and Cachuma, combined with another year of no state water allocations. This drought strategy includes the purchase of water, the increased use of groundwater, enacting extraordinary water conservation efforts, and restarting the desalination plant is a consideration. Santa Barbara water customers have done a great job at saving water over the last 30 years. Now we need to reduce our normal water demand by 20% with extraordinary water conservation measures.
Everyone should go home and to your business and take the top off the toilet. You can put a little food coloring in the tank, let it sit for 5 minutes or so. If you see the color of the food coloring come up in the bowl, you have a leak. Also, listen to the toilet. If you hear any kind of hissing or gurgling sound or anything, that's a leak. One of the areas also to check is for drips. Look around your property, check all your faucets, all your hoses, your valves, anything where water could be leaking, and make sure that there's no drips or leaks.
About half of the water used in the city goes to watering landscape, and this area has the biggest potential for water savings. For comparison, an average 5-minute shower uses 10 gallons total, while watering an average lawn for 15 minutes uses 700 gallons.
The most important thing to do is to turn on the sprinklers in the day when you can see them, and check and make sure that the sprinklers are working properly. You can look for if they're spraying over onto the sidewalk or driveway. Sometimes sprinklers or drip emitters are broken or cracked. You want to just make sure that all of that is working properly. So once you've checked and make sure that all the sprinklers and drip irrigation are working properly, then you want to make sure that you're watering the right amount.
Find the water percent adjust on the city website and adjust your sprinkler timer to match the percent each week. If your timer does not have this percent feature, you can adjust for the season by turning off watering days. The city will help you with the free water checkup for your home or business. To schedule, call 805-564-5460.
We can give you suggestions on indoor and outdoor water conservation actions that you can take, and we have experts that can look at every possible water use that you have.
For more information on the city's water supply and water conservation, visit santabarbaraca.gov/water.
I can't emphasize enough how important it is for everyone in this room to be thinking about not only your personal use of water, but the water used by your business. Some of you represent a lot of water. Do you have large ice machines, dishwashers, paving to clean, lawns to irrigate? Are you responsible for properties and their improvements? When we visit our commercial water customers, we often find huge opportunities for water reductions and cost savings. I especially want to thank the following large organizations for working with the city last year to strategize on how to reduce their water use: Santa Barbara Zoo, Mission Linen, the Fess Parker Hotel, and many more. Santa Barbara City College has taken steps that are projected to decrease water by 29%, saving them $35,000 on their annual water bill. And I also want to thank the Santa Barbara Association of Realtors, the Tobes Group, the Dennis Allen Associates, each named Water Heroes over the last 3 years for their work in reducing water demand in their properties. This great work couldn't have happened at a better time. And if you're interested in getting some advice, I encourage you to stop at the booth outside for more information. Overall, the community at large has done an excellent job conserving water, using 15 to 20% less water than in the mid-'80s. That translates to each person using 35 fewer gallons a day, and much of this is due to low water use toilets, washing machines, and smarter irrigation devices. Still, we need to do more. I want to thank the Fess Parker Hotel this morning for helping us save an estimated 112 gallons this morning. Typically, water is poured for everyone, but much of that water is wasted, and each glass must get washed even if you never touched the glass. This is a good example of the little things we need to consider each day. And I look to the leaders in this room to have conversations with your employees on the large and small uses of water so we can prevent water from being wasted. Saving water now will help staff off more severe measures in the future. Another impact to consider is that less rainfall leads to dry vegetation, making our community more susceptible to possible wildfires. In the Wildland Fire Assessment District, we've maintained an aggressive schedule of removing brush and educating property owners in high fire hazard areas. Since 2006, we removed 906 tons of vegetation in high-risk areas in the Riviera, Eucalyptus Hill, Cielito, and Foothill neighborhoods. This number includes roadway brush clearance and large-scale vegetation reduction projects in the canyons to reduce the fuel surrounding residential properties. Many of you have taken action on your own properties, creating defensible space to protect your property and prevent further fire spread. So now let's take a tour throughout our city to highlight some of the major projects that are moving forward. We'll start downtown. Our historic core has really bounced back in economic vibrancy. The new Vic, now run by the Ensemble Theater, reopened last November following a major renovation. The improvements modernized the 80-year-old building with a more intimate design for the 300-seat theater, helping us to complete the long-wished vision of creating the cultural arts district. Next door, the Santa Barbara Public Market is finishing construction work to open this spring. You'll be able to find local fresh seafood, handmade pasta, and artisanal ice cream all under the same roof. The 37 adjacent Alma del Pueblo condos will also be a welcome addition. And a few blocks over at the public library, fundraising is now in high gear to raise $5 million for a new children's area. The children's library will significantly expand in space, computers, seating, and shelving for families. With the design currently underway, we expect to begin construction in December. And just outside, we're redesigning the library plaza to a more open and inviting space for community activities and gatherings. And if you don't have time to visit the library in person, that's not a problem because you can connect from anywhere via the internet. If you have a digital device and love to read books or magazines or listen to music, I encourage you to check out the downloadable apps offered at the library website that let you read or play your favorite tunes for free. Walking through our retail corridors, one of the most frequent comments we've heard from the business community is helping residents and visitors feel safe and welcome in our local shops and restaurants. We take these comments very seriously, and even during the recession period, we increased our police staffing to patrol these areas by bike and on foot downtown, on Milpas Street, and in the very frequently visited waterfront area. And in our next video, you'll learn how our beat coordinators have stepped up their outreach efforts to work with business owners and neighborhood residents.
Thank you.
It's not the most unusual place to see a police officer.
Good morning. Can I get a cup of coffee?
In fact, it's quite ordinary. But these particular cops and these particular coffee-serving establishments are here for more than a good cup of joe. They're here to listen to you. It's called the Coffee with a Cop program, and it's one of the programs that fits into the police department's philosophy of community-oriented policing. The goal is to improve communication between the police department and the community.
It sort of goes back to the old-fashioned way of doing policing, really, and getting out of the police car and, actually conversing with people and not waiting for them to call us for an emergency or a call for service.
Coffee shops have become kind of a venue to relax, hang out. It's very casual. Some people come and they just want to hang out with us. Other ones have specific concerns.
And those persons that they decided to move in a lot of people there. So it's like 13 or 15
It was pretty
people
bad.
in there.
The police department also reaches out through its new community policing office located in the Franklin Center on the east side.
Over the course of many years of doing community-oriented policing projects, I found that we've often had the greatest success when we've taken that work out of the police department downtown and done it in the neighborhoods that we're trying to serve.
The department brings these services to where people live as a way to collaborate with residents.
I know what I think is important as a police officer as far as problems that need to be addressed. But not being someone that lives, for example, here on the east side, I might be out of touch with regard to specific issues that are really impacting the residents that live here. And so it's good to have that collaboration, and when we empower residents to help us set the law enforcement priorities in the neighborhoods that they live in, we build on that relationship, and ultimately we better serve our public.
And so far, the neighborhood has welcomed the department's presence on the east side.
How you been? How are you? Business. Okay.
Being here and having them come in and say, hi, I didn't know you were here, or I come to look for you, and it's cool because now I know that they want to do something, they want to report things, and I think that it's a good thing for the community, and that they're looking for us.
Another program that the department uses to deliver services is through beat coordinators.
We are responsible for the quality of life issues, some of the problems that are not necessarily 911 right now calls, whether it's neighbors that are disputing over something that they need some help in mediating, or whether we have certain areas that just need more attention than others. We get calls and complaints that aren't first responder type calls, but calls that do need some attention.
And on the downtown beat, this attention in many cases involves our transient population.
One of the things that I do is I contact them. I know most of them, I know all their names, I know how long they've been here. When I see people I don't recognize, I go and introduce myself. I get their names, I get their pictures so they're in the system, so that I know who's in my area, I know who's in my beat. So when we get a call that says, somebody that looks like this wearing this shirt did that, I go, oh, I know who that is.
The beat coordinators communicate directly with business owners who serve as block captains to address issues.
So I say you can never call us too much, and also you can never email me too much, because it's, if you're having a problem, whether it's legal or not, maybe there's a transient that's bothering them that's panhandling in front, that's not illegal, right? It's a nuisance, it's loitering, but it's not illegal. But sometimes I can go talk to them and say, we need you to move along, the business is causing problems, can you move somewhere else? And then that's something that just solves the problem.
An increased police presence is part of the city's problem-solving strategy downtown, and a major component of that presence is the restorative policing program. Through this program, police officers, outreach specialists, and social service providers work as a team to connect chronically homeless individuals with the services they need, helping them to achieve self-sufficiency. The goal is to break the cycle of incarceration, citation, and addiction, and ultimately get people into housing.
None of these people really prefer to be living like that. There are just so many things that have gone wrong along the way, so many missteps, so many wrong turns, that it's difficult for them to unravel it.
And by the police department building upon these personal relationships established with downtown businesses, along with the Eastside Community Policing Office and the Coffee with a Cop program, these connections are paying off.
It's awesome. Having the Beat Coordinator program reinstituted back onto the police force has been great, because what it does is it allows that beat coordinator or that police officer to really understand what's happening in that region. They get into it, they get the feel of the neighborhood, they get the feel of the area, they're there all the time, they get to know the people. It's definitely the best thing to have is to have a foot patrol on State Street.
The restorative policing program continues to deliver results in assisting chronically homeless individuals to transition to self-sufficiency. In the last 2 years, the team assisted 171 clients who were responsible for over 6,000 calls to the police department. And according to our Central Coast Collaborative on Homelessness, we have placed 114 city residents in housing since May of last year. As many of you know, the police station on Figueroa, in addition to being too small, is a seismically challenged facility. The last thing anyone wants is for the 911 Dispatch Operations Center to be damaged in an event of a major emergency. So this spring, the dispatch operation will move from the police station to office space at the reinforced Granada Garage until we find and implement a solution to replace the police station. So now continuing our tour to the waterfront area. The Cabrillo Arts Pavilion and Bathhouse will soon get a facelift, a very popular venue for meetings, weddings, and other events upstairs, and some of you are familiar with the bathhouse below, where perhaps you've taken a shower after beach volleyball or have morning coffee near the sand at East Beach Grill. The 1926 historic two-story building has been well loved, and now with its deteriorating building facade, worn building systems, and outdated interior, it deserves some attention, repairs, and updates so that it can return to its original status as the gem on Cabrillo Boulevard. The project includes a restoration of the bathhouse shower and locker facilities and the outdoor promenade that opens up to the beach and recreational pathways. The design is now underway, with project completion scheduled in 2017. Moving further down Cabrillo Boulevard, there are several hotel projects in the works, and if you drive by the Santa Barbara Inn, you'll notice a full remodel of the entire property, including new entry, facade, lobby, restaurant, and remodel of 70 hotel rooms. Heading down to Lower State Street, believe it or not, the La Entrada project has seen significant progress with new sidewalks installed along State Street from Cabrillo Boulevard to the railroad tracks. The project involves the development of 3 city blocks north of Cabrillo Boulevard, including 123 hotel rooms, 20,000 square feet of retail space, a 264-space parking structure, and a possible visitor information center. We've been pleased with current owner Michael Rosenfeld's commitment to keep the project moving forward on schedule, and it's anticipated they will submit their plans for building permits this spring. Around the corner, the Funk Zone continues to thrive. Popular for its eclectic mix of art, wineries, and restaurants, there are surprises to be found on every block and behind the industrial doors. Local high-tech superstar Sonos has solidified its base here by moving into the historic Beacons Warehouse building. And more new businesses are currently in design, so this area will continue to thrive. After 10 years of planning and community fundraising, Council approved a 50-year lease of vacant city property at the 100 block of State Street to build the new Children's Museum. The 17,000 square foot 3-story facility will have exhibits for families to visit with indoor and outdoor galleries, a courtyard, and roof terrace. And the project will begin construction this summer. Nearby, we continue to replace decades-old bridges over Mission Creek, with the most recent completion at Chapala Street. These bridges improve water flow and seismic safety and improve circulation for both pedestrians and vehicles. With the majority of funding from federal highway bridge dollars, we'll begin construction this fall on Mason Street Bridge and the Cabrillo Boulevard Bridge. Communicating with local businesses in this area during this time will be imperative, since these replacements will require that we close one lane in each direction of Cabrillo Boulevard during up to 2 years of construction. In conjunction with the bridge work, the County Flood Control District is making progress to widen the creek channel to reduce flooding and property damage during storm events. Work on the channel will continue this summer between Mason and Yananali Streets, and the bridge replacements and the channel work are significant infrastructure projects that the city and county have planned over the past few decades and are now being realized. Beyond the bridge and channel work, we have significant public infrastructure needs throughout the city that need our attention. 5 years ago, a Blue Ribbon Infrastructure Financing Task Force comprised of local business leaders identified our unfunded capital needs and made recommendations on financing policies and sources of revenue to pay for these projects. Many of our public buildings, recreation centers, streets and roadways, including essential public safety buildings, need significant capital improvement and repairs. We estimate that our unfunded capital budget is approximately $368 million. The City Council has been actively discussing the next steps to address the city's infrastructure needs, and most importantly, how to pay for them. And earlier this month, the Council created a new subcommittee comprised of Council members Rouse, White, and myself to address these long-term capital needs. Thanks to your Chamber's Governmental Relations Committee, we've already started what we expect to be a robust dialogue this spring and invite you to participate so we can all gain a better understanding of our needs and options. Now, to put it all in perspective, City Administrator Jim Armstrong can give us a bigger picture on the city finances. Jim.
Thank you, Mayor Schneider, and good morning to everyone. It's my pleasure to present to you a brief summary of how the city organization is doing financially and discuss the challenges we face in the upcoming years. I often like to think of the city organization from a private sector perspective. It helps us to understand the complexity of our finances and the management challenges we face each and every day. In practice, the city is organized like a large, diversified holding company. With revenues exceeding $250 million annually and over 1,000 full-time employees, we have a number of very different product lines. These lines include security services through our police department and emergency fire and medical responses through the fire department. Our leisure and recreational line of services is served through our parks and recreation and library departments. We have a strategic planning function, which is responsible for the city's general plan and zoning ordinance. Our community development department also makes sure that construction meets the very high standards of our community and is built safely. A huge line of business for the city is in construction and maintenance. The city is responsible for maintaining 238 miles of streets, over 150 different buildings, and 1,765 acres of parks and open space. We're responsible for a number of bridges, traffic signals, thousands of directional and regulatory signs, miles of curbs, gutters, sidewalks, and storm drains. Our utility line provides 12 million gallons of fresh and healthy water and processes 7 million gallons of sewage each day. To cap it off, the city also has several other unique business lines, including our commercial airport, used by 700,000 passengers annually, our downtown parking organization that provides parking for 4.3 million vehicles annually, and our waterfront operation that serves as a home to 1,100 boats and over 50 vibrant businesses. And lastly, the city runs a golf course that provides over 60,000 rounds of golf each year. In managing a complex holding company like ours, we of course must also have all the typical support operations that you would expect. Corporate counsel through our city attorney's office, financial support through our finance department, and information services and human resources support through our administrative services department. And lastly, remember that our board of directors, the city council, meets weekly, where all of our shareholders have an open mic to express their opinions at our televised meetings. So now let me move on to the city's financial condition. As we reported to you last year, our financial condition continues to improve since the depths of the recession. On the revenue side, the brightest part of the recovery has been the visitor industry, with transient occupancy taxes increasing significantly over the last 3 years. Last year, transient occupancy taxes increased by 7.4%, and through the first 8 months of this fiscal year, we're up by an amazing 14%. Retail sales have been slower to recover from the recession, but we did see growth of 3.3% last year, and through the first 6 months of this year, we're up about 5.2%. On the expense side of the equation, we continue to be careful about increasing cost as we recover from the recession. It's important that we not take on additional ongoing obligations until we know that the economy is fully recovered. As most of you know, the largest part of the city's budget is devoted to salary and benefits, so controlling these costs is critical to the city's financial health. We have 6 major employee unions, and over the past year, we've been successful in reaching multi-year agreements with our police, general employees, and supervisors unions that we think are fair to those employees while still keeping expenses in check. Of special note is the recent agreement reached with the police union to have them pay 9% towards their pensions. We're currently in negotiations with our firefighters union, and I'm confident we can reach a similar agreement to have them cover at least 9% of their pension cost. Once these agreements in place, all of our unions will be contributing a significant amount towards their pensions. As a result of revenues recovering and expenses held in check, the city's general fund closed last fiscal year with a surplus of $3.4 million. This was the 5th year in a row that we've ended in the black, which is a phenomenal achievement considering the difficult times we've seen. As a result of these surpluses, we've been able to supplement our capital improvement plan and restore reserves up to a healthy $24.7 million. This represents about 23% of our $110 million general fund. All of our other major operations, water, wastewater, the waterfront, airport, and downtown parking also have healthy reserves. So in summary, your city government continues to be in good financial condition. One of my major responsibilities as the city's chief executive officer is not only to manage the day-to-day affairs of the city, but also to identify for the city council the long-term challenges that we face as an organization. So today I again want to talk about 2 issues that will impact the city's finances well into the future. The first challenge, as the mayor discussed, is the large infrastructure funding gap that we face. Our city is now 160 years old, and we continue to benefit from the foresight of prior mayors and council members who had the courage to invest in our parks, buildings, streets, bridges, and utility systems that we now take for granted. But as you drive around our city, it's clear that many of these facilities are long beyond their useful life and need to be replaced or restored. We have made tremendous progress over the last few years in building a new airline terminal, rebuilding our main fire headquarters, rebuilding the Creo Rec Center, and making major bridge and utility improvements. But as the mayor stated, we still have a tremendous backlog of critical projects that need to be completed with no identified revenue to cover the cost. I'm hopeful that with the leadership of the mayor and the rest of the council, we can look for realistic solutions to tackle this critical issue that I believe is vital to the economic health of our community. The second issue facing the city continues to be the large pension liabilities that face every city and county in California. As of June 30, 2013, the city's 3 pension plans had combined assets on deposit with the California Public Employees Retirement System of $515 million. That's over $500 million, clearly a lot of money. However, the present value of our pension liabilities totals $770 million, leaving an unfunded liability of $255 million. To finance this large unfunded liability, we have been advised by the Public Employees Retirement System to expect continued rate hikes all the way to 2020, which will result in the city's total contribution rising by over 50%. To put it in concrete terms, in 2020 for police and firefighters, for every dollar in salary we pay to these employees, we expect to be paying well over 50 cents to PERS. And this is in addition to the 9% employee share that the employees will be paying. For our non-public safety employees, we expect the rate to be over 30 cents for every dollar of salary we pay to employees. I want to be clear, these levels of contributions will not be catastrophic to the city's budget, but they will have a major impact on our ability to finance other priorities like additional staffing or infrastructure. The result's going to be tight budgets for the next several years. So to summarize, the bottom line for city finances is a mixed message. On the positive side, we have weathered the recession well. We made the tough decisions on a timely basis, and we were successful in working with our various unions to control costs. We have a solid balance sheet. Compared to most communities in California, we're very strong financially. But like most other agencies in the state, we face the long-term prospects of needing to invest in our streets, buildings, and beautiful parks and open space. And we need to continue to work to reduce the long-term pension costs that are eating up a larger portion of our operating revenues every year. As I hand the microphone back to Mayor Schneider, I want to express my appreciation to the mayor and the council and our fantastic management team for helping me navigate our city through the last several years of recession and tight budgets. I'm confident that we're in a good position to begin to address the challenges that we face well into the future.
Thank you, Jim, and thank you for your leadership. Each dollar of local revenues has an even greater impact when we attract outside funding sources. One success is our regional efforts on youth gang violence prevention, and they were recognized with a $1.5 million award in state grant funding, building on almost $3 million already received from the state over the past 5 years. Santa Barbara, along with the cities of Carpinteria and Lompoc, received these funds to continue their work with philanthropic and social service agencies that work directly with at-risk youth. Considered a unique regional model throughout California, the South Coast Task Force on Youth Gangs meets regularly to develop and implement strategies to prevent gang violence and provide positive alternatives to gang activities. Each city is implementing a comprehensive strategy for at-risk teens, and we're seeing fantastic results. In 2009, 307 youth were on probation with gang terms and conditions, and now, 5 years later, that number has dropped to 170. This initiative builds on a strong foundation of recreation and neighborhood center programs the city offers to help make kids make healthy life choices. Annually, the city dedicates over $2.6 million to promote healthy life choices for youth and teens. Even during the recession, the city kept its commitment to youth by broadening our reach to more teens through new partnerships and grant funds that enabled us to provide services at low or no cost. And in our next video, we'll give you a glimpse on how we're investing in the next generation.
Okay, so today, as Ian said, we're making different appetizers and soup.
City Parks and Recreation, we're all about prevention. And in particular, when we're talking about the youth that are most at risk of going down the wrong path in life, it's programs that are really designed to engage those kids in positive activities and building positive relationships.
The skinnier the stalk, the more tender the asparagus will be.
Our culinary arts program is a credit recovery program for high school students who need some extra credit to graduate from high school. So essentially the city partners with the school district to identify those students and then bring them in and give them culinary skills, work with a professional chef, and actually come away with some decent skills and employable skills.
The art class is geared to teach the kids to have a snapshot of the whole food industry.
It's an opportunity for me to learn different ways of cooking, different styles, different cultures, and I am planning on pursuing a career in this field.
We're able to employ some of those cooking from scratch type of strategies for kids so they can take those things home, show their parents, hey, instead of using lard, we're using olive oil, you know?
All the healthy stuff they cook, I would much rather enjoy cooking that than going and eating at McDonald's, Jack and stuff like that.
All right, so who's interested? Who wants a job? Who wants to apply?
The jobs that kids did 30, 40 years ago don't exist anymore. Working in the grocery stores, mowing the lawns, delivering the newspaper. So we have to be a little bit more creative in how we help kids become employable or understand the idea of what it is to be employed.
And our Youth Apprentice program is actually teaching these young people how to work, how to get a job, how to be successful in the workplace, so how to keep a job.
The concept is to provide youth with mentoring opportunities. They get hired and they actually get paid to learn on the job. And these are, again, jobs within the city in various different departments.
It Prepared me, it gave me a lot of hands-on opportunities. I had customer service. I started learning customer service there. It was my first job I've ever had. It also helped me, I started learning a little bit about payroll. It kind of guides you and then they mentor you to continue education. I really liked it, so I'm sure other people would like it as well.
With the Santa Barbara Arts Alliance program, what it does, it gives youth that are interested in the arts an opportunity to come and train as a group or on an individual basis with local artists.
The Arts Alliance program is really a program that really promotes public art from the neighborhood perspective, from the neighborhood level. And that's a very unique situation that you have young people, young adults, children that are producing public art in our community.
My experience is that every time we do a mural, it doesn't get tagged anymore. Because even gang members, they respect the art. I love it. It makes Santa Barbara more beautiful. We get to work with the kids and we get to talk with the community.
What we're doing is working because it's relevant to the kids, it's relevant to the community, and it creates not only a sense of place for the kids, but also a sense of place for the community itself.
So for us, we start on the front end, getting kids involved in activities that are safe, healthy, productive, help them form positive relationships.
And that's what the programs do. They provide them with alternatives, whether it's the job that keeps them off the street, or whether it's the one-on-one advising. And sometimes that's all it takes for them to make the right choices and for them to move on their own.
We're also very proud of partnering with the Police Activities League, where our police officers spend quality time mentoring at-risk youth. And at the library, we're providing more programs that engage teens. Thanks to a generous donation from the Junior League, the library has launched a new homework center where trained volunteers can help students understand their assignments on a drop-in basis. So let's get back to our tour, and this time describing how we get from point A to point B. Even with limited infrastructure funds, the city has successfully leveraged federal and state grant funds for projects to create safe routes to school, improve accessibility, and balance the needs of pedestrians, bicycles, and vehicles in neighborhood streets. We've paid special attention to intersections with high accident rates to identify the best solution to meet unique neighborhood needs. And the police department has conducted special enforcement patrols to cite drivers that are speeding and not yielding to pedestrians while in the sidewalk. First, at the intersection of Anacapa and Carrillo Streets, once considered the most hazardous intersection in the city, drivers can now see traffic signals much easier with new traffic signal poles and new access ramps that improve the visibility of pedestrians ready to cross the street. And another accident-prone intersection at De La Vina and West Figueroa Streets was also addressed with new street lighting and pedestrian improvements. Along the Upper State Street corridor, projects are in design to add rapid flashing beacons and pedestrian islands across from Mackenzie Park at Calle Palo, Colorado. And on La Cumbre Road, projects are planned to fill in sidewalk gaps and improve street crossing for students. We've recently focused a lot of time, energy, and funds in the East Side neighborhood. After numerous neighborhood workshops and extensive public outreach, we're implementing several projects from the East Side Transportation Management Plan to improve neighborhood safety. Projects are underway to install street lighting, enhance the walking experience, add bicycle amenities, and increase public education and enforcement so we're all following the rules of the road. This summer, we're adding pedestrian refuge islands at various intersections near Adelante and Franklin elementary schools to enhance the visibility of the students crossing the roadway. Near Cleveland School, we're realigning the intersection at Salinas and Cacique Streets to make it much safer for kids and their families to cross this busy street. We're also adding a new sidewalk at the Montecito and Yananali Bridge, which goes over Sycamore Creek, which will give pedestrians a visible, protected space away from passing vehicles. And we're also partnering with Southern California Edison to retrofit streetlights with energy-efficient LEDs, improving the lighting quality for those walking, biking, and driving throughout the neighborhood. Across town, in the West Downtown neighborhood, we're finishing up the Streetlights project with 82 new streetlights along Coda, Castillo, Bath, and De La Vina streets. With completion scheduled by the end of 2014, this project will significantly improve nighttime safety. Near La Cumbre Junior High, we realigned the intersection at Modoc Road and Portezuelo Avenue to provide a safe environment for students while meeting the needs of school buses and emergency vehicles from the adjacent fire station. Improving neighborhood amenities go beyond streets and sidewalks, of course. In the densely populated West Side neighborhood, there's a lack of open green spaces, so the city has collaborated with residents to transform Bonnet Park into a more inviting and welcoming space. Some of the improvements include new picnic sites, lighting, and basketball court renovation with an amazing colorful mural that was painted by local neighborhood teens. In the West Downtown neighborhood, a new pocket park at the corner of Bath and Ortega Streets is coming to serve as a small refuge for that neighborhood to relax. On the Mesa, after decades of negotiations with Caltrans, State Route 225 is no longer a state highway, and finally we have now more local control of both Cliff Drive and Las Positas as city streets. For many years, Mesa residents and anyone traveling to Ealings Park and Hendry's Beach have witnessed the gridlock of traffic at the Cliff Drive and Las Positas intersection at peak travel times, and the council recently approved funding to build a roundabout in place of the current stop sign to improve traffic flow. Once the design is complete, we expect construction to begin in late 2015. We're also supporting Santa Barbara City College as they explore potential traffic improvements near their main entrance on Cliff Drive. Another helpful fix in this area would be the Castillo Street underpass. Right? Okay. Now, this freeway underpass is still owned by Caltrans, and it has been rapidly deteriorating over the past few years. Due to a high groundwater table, it's been an engineering challenge to prevent groundwater from surfacing on the roadway. Caltrans has implemented creative solutions over the years, but unfortunately, they have yet to find the engineering solution that will permanently solve this problem. The city continues to urge Caltrans to fix the roadway for good, and there are now plans to install interlocking brick pavers that we hope will result in a smoother roadway. So, as you can see, there's something going on in just about every part of the city. Of course, as important as the basics of street and road improvements are, there's much more involved to run a city as special as Santa Barbara. Doing our part to ensure your business succeeds is also paramount. Overall, we're experiencing Santa Barbara as a hotbed for entrepreneurial activity. The number of vacant retail spaces throughout town is very low, with only 2% of vacant space. The number of business licenses issued has grown by 6% over the last year, which is very promising news for our local economy. At City Hall, we're investing more time in reaching out to entrepreneurs and organizational leaders to better understand your needs so we can maximize economic vitality. We've learned about the challenges in operating a business in Santa Barbara and what it takes to expand. One of the questions I'm often asked is how we're improving flight operations at Santa Barbara Airport. It's important to note that we're affected by a few industry trends. Nationwide, the total number of domestic departures has fallen by 20% over the last decade. On top of that, the merger of American Airlines and U.S. Airways has resulted in American restructuring many of their routes. At the Santa Barbara Airport, American will soon fly passengers through Phoenix instead of Los Angeles. We recently met with American Airline executives to express our thoughts on this decision made by them and to strategize on how to maintain and improve flight options for Santa Barbara travelers. Flights to Los Angeles are still available through United, and there are plans for additional flights. And overall, we're redoubling our efforts with different airlines to maintain what we have and add capacity to meet passenger demand. We're also seeing many new visitors through cruise ships. And cruise ships have added a boost to our local economy with 30 visits scheduled in 2014, amounting to up to 100,000 passengers and crew who disembark for a day of shopping and adventure. With issues related to the city's planning and permitting processes, we've listened to you and understand that time is money and delays hurt us all. To add speed and efficiency, the city has made some changes and is initiating others in the next several months. While we've added staff to help you complete tenant improvements more efficiently, we continue to face the challenge of keeping up with the recent high pace of building activity and have a goal of reducing turnaround time. This year, we will embark on a major update of the 1957 zoning ordinance to restructure, simplify, and modernize our land development requirements. Our goal is to improve flexibility, and this will be helpful for all future development proposals. We want to be a resource to individual business owners, and it's important to us that we serve as a partner and not a barrier towards their success. To that end, we're developing a series of videos for our website covering common questions such as how to get a business license, submit plans for building improvements, save money through recycling and water conservation, and obtain permits for events and special needs. Beyond our website, we've created more options to stay connected with one another. For those of you who want the latest news from the city, it's available for you via email or social media. Whether you want top stories from the city at large, just for your neighborhood, or for particular services such as public safety bulletins or library programming, we've got the tool for you. We have thousands of residents who are receiving information through different methods, and I encourage you to sign up so you're in the know about projects happening throughout the city. Thanks to our collective creativity and partnerships, there are many exciting projects launching this year. We are poised to bring Santa Barbara to a new and stronger level of vibrancy, collaboration, and economic strength. We are an innovative community, and it's such an honor for me to start my second term as your mayor and continue to be part of the passionate discussions and entrepreneurial spirit that define Santa Barbara. The Santa Barbara that we treasure, the architecture, natural beauty, local shops, so many educational, arts, and cultural offerings, and a generous and compassionate community. That's the vision we've achieved together through decades of planning and dedication. We've reached a critical place on our community's journey, aware of our needs and gaps, and ready to take the next steps, making sound investments that will benefit future generations. Now is the time when we must focus on renewing and revitalizing our basic infrastructure, buildings, and parks that have served us so well for so long. And now is the time when we must focus on renewing and strengthening our partnerships and work together as a community to create opportunities for every one of us to reach our full potential. Moving forward, I hope we all leave here this morning energized by our accomplishments and empowered to continue protecting what we hold so dear in this very special place. Thank you.